I want to talk with you a little bit about clinical brain profiling. Clinical brain profiling, I hope, will be an intermediate stage for psychiatric diagnosis between what we have today. What we have today, we have a descriptive system for diagnosing mental disorders. Descriptive means we have only signs and symptoms, and we don't really have a brain-related and etiological psychiatric diagnostic system like in other fields of medicine, where diagnosis is mainly based on etiology. Until we have etiology, until we know the reasons for the mental disorders, we will have a big problem in curing mental disorders. So actually there is a consensus that we need an etiological brain-related, brain-based diagnostic system for psychiatry, which we don't have today. Still, we do have a lot of knowledge from neuroscience that can start and give us an idea of how future diagnostic system could be developed. So currently it would be very useful if we can have some kind of framework, a theoretical framework, proposing or suggesting how mental disorders could be reformulated based on brain disturbances. And one of the big problems with that is that we are accustomed to look at the origins of mental disorders at a molecular level, a neurotransmitter gene level, while I think, and there are others that recently think the same, that the neural network level has a more explanatory power, because it goes up to whole brain organization and down to molecular levels. It's an intermediate level, and recently developed sciences like neural computation, computational neuroscience, neural network modeling provide us the basic science and the mathematics in order to start and formulate how the brain computes information and cognitive functions using a network system. So clinical brain profiling, as I mentioned, is an intermediate phase. It has one leg in the descriptive realm, where mental disorders are still formulated in description of clinical phenomena. So it is actually, on one side, it has a list of clinical phenomena that we find in clinical experience, and on the other side, the output of clinical brain profiling is a set of hypotheses. Let's take an example. For example, we have a patient that has a positive sign schizophrenia. He's delusional, he has loosening of associations, and he's actually very incoherent and disorganized. And there is a lot of data today that suggests that disconnection syndromes, like groups of neurons acting in a disconnection manner, in a fragmented manner, in a statistically independent manner, correlate with such a clinical picture. So we can start and try and formulate and say that those patients that have positive symptoms, psychotic patients, are actually suffering from some kind of disintegration of connectivity, or disconnection syndrome, or whole brain disintegration syndrome. So we can go on and use our insights from working with computer science and neural network modeling, neural network simulations, and show that also negative symptoms schizophrenia could be related to overconnectivity dynamics, and so on. Also, hierarchical perturbations could be related to various clinical phenomena that we find in clinical experience, like systemized delusions and so on. So actually it is possible, and this is something that I've tried to do. I have formulated it under the title of clinical brain profiling, trying to correlate on one side clinical phenomena with presumed literature-based and scientifically based assumptions of the brain-related disturbances. Clinical brain profiling is formulated in a book titled Neuroanalysis, and you can find it on the web. You just need to type neuroanalysis. There is also a web-based site for that, and in that site you can go to the title brain profiling, and actually you can find a downloadable manual that you can start using with your patients. You can actually download an Excel program where you enter the signs and symptoms that you find from the patient, and it outputs an hypothetical profile of what will be the neural network developmental disturbances that the brain can have. This is really suited for a testable prediction manner, because you can actually take a patient, do the clinical brain profiling on him, get this hypothetical brain disturbance, and then put him in a scanner, and with the relevant and adequate signal processing capabilities, you can actually now go and validate it, even for the specific patients, either validate or disprove it. So I hope this clinical brain profiling, which is an intermediate level between descriptive psychiatry and etiological psychiatry, will help us go further and develop a brain-related, brain-based diagnostic system for psychiatry.